Northern Pike. We're starting with the one that started it all, literally, since Esox lucius is the type species that gave the entire genus its name. A northern pike can remain perfectly motionless in the weeds for several minutes at a time, so still that smaller fish mistake it for drifting vegetation before launching forward with an explosive strike and swallowing prey almost half its own body length in one motion. That hunting style is a big part of why it's the single most widespread freshwater predator on the planet, found across Europe, Northern Asia, and North America, stretching from Alaska all the way down through the Midwestern United States. Physically, they're elongated and slightly flattened, usually olive to brown on top with a cream-colored belly and rows of light bean-shaped spots along the sides. Adults commonly run 16 to 22 inches, 40 to 55 centimeters, though trophy fish have been recorded well over 4 feet, 130 centimeters. Spawning starts early, as soon as water temperatures hit the low 40 degrees Fahrenheit, when females scatter thousands of adhesive eggs over flooded vegetation. And here's a weird fact for you. Northern pike are so aggressive during spawning season that biologists can often identify individual fish just from the scarring and scale damage caused by other pike. They're listed as least concern, but they've been introduced far outside their native range, and in parts of the western United States, they're now considered a serious threat to native trout and salmon. But not every member of this family grows into a freshwater monster. In fact, the next species takes the exact opposite approach.
Muskellunge. If the northern pike is the family's most widespread hunter, the muskellunge is its undisputed giant. Anglers call it the fish of 10,000 casts for a reason. Muskies are notoriously difficult to catch, which only adds to their legendary status among freshwater fishermen. Native to lakes and rivers across the northern and eastern United States and Canada, muskellunge can grow past 6 feet, making it the largest species in the entire pike family, full stop. Muskies are typically lighter in color than northern pike, silvery green to brown, marked with dark vertical bars or spots rather than light ones. They favor clear, densely vegetated lakes and large rivers, and unlike northern pike, their eggs actually sink and stick to plants instead of drifting freely. The moment they hatch, young muskellunge start preying on each other. Cannibalism kicks in almost immediately, and only the fastest growing fry survive their own siblings. Muskellunge can live 15 to 30 years, making them one of the longest-lived fish in North American freshwater systems, and they're currently considered least concern, though many states enforce strict size limits because their populations are naturally sparse even in prime habitat. To put that size into perspective, an adult muskellunge can be nearly 6 times longer than the smallest fish we're about to look at. That's the range this family covers. Chain pickerel. This one gets its name straight from its appearance, a distinctive dark chain link pattern layered over lighter yellow-green sides, unlike anything else in the family. Native to the eastern United States, chain pickerel range from Texas along the Gulf Coast, up the entire East Coast and into parts of Canada. Although smaller than northern pike and muskellunge, averaging around 20 inches, the chain pickerel is still one of North America's most formidable pound-for-pound freshwater predators, and it's famous among anglers for putting up a disproportionately hard fight for its size. They prefer warmer, weedier water than northern pike, muddy-bottom ponds, lakes, and slow creeks, and hunt with the same ambush strategy as the rest of the family. They typically live 8 to 10 years and are considered least concern across their range. Chain pickerel are also one of the most aggressive strikers in the entire genus relative to their size, frequently attacking lures far larger than what they'd normally eat in the wild. Surprisingly, the next 2 species are smaller than most fish you'd find in a home aquarium.
American pickerel, redfin and grass. Here's where a lot of people get confused, so let's clear it up. The American pickerel, Esox americanus, is technically one species, but it's split into 2 recognized subspecies that look and behave differently enough that they're almost always discussed separately, the redfin pickerel and the grass pickerel. The redfin pickerel is an East Coast fish, found in slow, vegetated streams and ponds from the northeast down through the southeastern United States. Its most obvious identifying feature is a reddish tint across its fins, along with more distinct, sharply defined markings than its inland cousin. The grass pickerel is the inland counterpart to the redfin pickerel, distributed throughout the Mississippi River watershed instead of along the coast. Its subspecies name, vermiculatus, literally translates to worm-like, describing the wavy, mottled pattern along its sides. It lacks the reddish fins entirely, and its markings tend to be softer and less defined. Both subspecies rarely grow past 12 to 14 inches, making them among the smallest apex predators in their own habitats. Tiny by pike standards, but still absolute terrors to the minnows and invertebrates sharing their creek. Where their ranges overlap along the Gulf Coast, from Louisiana to Florida, the 2 subspecies actually interbreed with each other. Both are considered least concern. Now, this is where things get interesting, because the next species isn't even native to the Americas.
Amur pike. Cross an entire ocean and you'll find the only member of this family that lives outside Europe and North America entirely. The Amur pike is native to the Amur River basin along the border of Russia and China, and it looks remarkably similar to the Northern Pike. Same elongated body, same mottled camouflage, which makes sense since genetically they're close relatives separated by geography rather than dramatic evolutionary change. Amur pike inhabit cold rivers and connected floodplain lakes, using the exact same sit-and-wait ambush strategy as their western cousins rather than actively chasing prey through open water. It remains one of the least studied species in the entire genus, but it's an important species for local subsistence and small-scale commercial fishing throughout the region. If Northern Pike proved this family could conquer 2 continents, the Amur pike proves it can survive on a 3rd. Later in this video, we're going to meet a species that scientists didn't even recognize as real until the 21st century. But first, there's one more European pike hiding in plain sight.
Southern pike. For decades, the assumption in Europe was simple. There's only one pike species on the continent, the Northern pike, and that was that. Any populations that looked slightly different in southern Europe were written off as nothing more than a color variation. In 2011, genetic research finally confirmed that these fish weren't simply a color variation of the Northern pike. They were an entirely separate species. The Southern pike is found in freshwater habitats across Italy, southern France, and Switzerland. Outside of subtle genetic markers and coloration differences, it fills a nearly identical ecological role to its northern relative, sitting at the top of the food chain wherever it's found. Scientists had been looking directly at a separate species for over 150 years without realizing it. And that brings us to the species that took things even further.
Aquitanian pike. This is the fish most complete pike videos leave entirely out, and it's arguably the most fascinating discovery in the whole family's history. For over a century, the population of pike living in the rivers of southwestern France, the Charente, the Dordogne, the Adour, was simply assumed to be the same northern pike found everywhere else in Europe. Then in 2014, a team of French researchers ran detailed genetic and morphological analysis and discovered something nobody expected, an entirely undescribed species hiding in waters that had been fished for generations. The Aquitanian pike is distinguished by narrow oblique marbled banding along its sides, a shorter snout relative to its body, and measurable differences in scale count and vertebrae compared to the northern pike. It also runs noticeably smaller on average, with typical lengths well under 2 feet, though larger individuals have been recorded. It's currently classified as near threatened, largely because decades of stocking northern pike into its home rivers has led to hybridization between the 2 species, gradually diluting the Aquitanian pike's genetics in parts of its range. In a strange twist, this means one member of pike's own relatives may now be one of its biggest threats. And one member of this family isn't even a true species at all, but it's too interesting to leave out.
The tiger muskellunge, honorable mention. Not a species, but a hybrid, the offspring of a northern pike and a muskellunge, occurring both naturally and through deliberate hatchery stocking. Tiger muskies inherit the size potential of the muskellunge, but grow faster and are generally considered hardier than either parent. Their dark, unevenly spaced vertical stripes are what earn them the tiger name, and because the hybrid is typically infertile, wildlife agencies love stocking them since their numbers can be tightly controlled without any risk of an uncontrolled wild population taking hold.
If you like content like this, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.